Well, hey everybody. In today's video, I'm going to be opening up the new Rossier R5 exhaust systems for the YFZ450R and Raptor 700. I wanted to give a huge shout out to David at Rossier Engineering for getting us set up with these new pipes. I'll be doing before and after exhaust notes, as well as bringing the machines to Illinois Powersports to get them tuned up. So I'm super excited to open these pipes up, and let's check them out. All right, got the box open. Looks like he sent a pair of his goggles. He's got some Rossier branded goggles that he put together, and I know they look pretty cool. Oh, nice. Wow, look at those, man. That is awesome. Thank you very much. Really love the look and styling of them. I love the matte finish, and this gloss blue lens. That is sharp, dude. Let's get this box out of the way. And this looks to be the R5 muffler. Oh, dude, it is so sick. I mean, pictures really don't do this justice. I am stoked. Wow, man. I wasn't too sure what I'd think about the brushed finish, but it looks so awesome. He redesigned these badges for the R5. It's a really nice thick badge that's riveted on. Look at this carbon fiber tip on here. That's totally new and unique to the R5. The back is welded on to the can. And then these also come with a nice thick billet hanger. This pipe is really racing focused. Obviously it would work for rec riding, but I want to say it's supposed to meet sound requirements within racing. So it'll be nice to be a tad quieter. We'll see what the exhaust note's like. I'm sure it'll still have an awesome sound to it. Now we will pull the header out of the box. Here is the header. It has his anti-reversion chamber, he calls it. I think he's got some diagrams potentially on his website that he shared showing how the innards of this is all designed. Build quality, once again, looks awesome. It's a staged pipe, gets bigger as it goes. Just looks fantastic. I'm so excited. So here is the header for the Raptor 700. Really awesome to have a new exhaust system for the Raptor. The other one that's been on there's had quite a bit of ride time. So hopefully you can still get this patriotic themed Rossier R5 badge. Man, just top-notch build quality as always from Rossier. Super excited to get this on the machine. I'm super excited to hear it. Just looks fantastic. This is just great, man. He's really upped his game, and Rossier has really made a name for itself the last couple years, and we're really happy to have contributed to that reputation. So at some point in this video, you guys will see the sound differences between the Rossier R4 and the R5. I'm really excited to see how the exhaust note changes. Should be a little bit quieter, which is going to actually be kind of nice. If you're in the market for an aftermarket exhaust, we do sell Rossier exhausts on our website. So if you're curious about shipping timelines and just have any questions about our products, you can always just shoot us a message on our contact page, and we're happy to help and get back to you as soon as we can. Next stop, we'll be going to Illinois Powersports to see Jay, and we'll do before and after comparisons with the R4 and the R5. We'll get a baseline run with the R4 and see how the power curve changes and what the difference in power numbers are once we get the R5 installed. So stay tuned, and next stop, Illinois Powersports. Illinois Powersports is a premier destination for all your off-road and tuning needs. Their shop is located west of the Chicago suburbs next to Sycamore Speedway. From fully custom builds to basic bolt-ons and dyno tuning, Jay and his team strive for perfection with every project and are willing to work with any budget. I more than recommend their business and will continue to utilize their services long into the future. All right, we've got the YFZ all hooked up and ready to go, and Jay's going to walk us through some of the steps we're going to take today to ensure that we get the most accurate testing possible on the pipe swap.
So we're not going to use any results from last time because they're completely irrelevant at this point. We want to know what the machine does today with this pipe at this temperature, with this humidity, and with this strap down setup and everything else. And then we'll go ahead, we'll change the pipe. We're going to do all our passes at 150 degrees starting. And that'll be the most accurate way of seeing what it will or won't do, for that matter.
And we'll have a totally accurate difference between
Yes.
both pipes as far as the total numbers. So let's get this thing warmed up and get after it. So blue is today's
today.
Yeah, today once we hit peak power, and the red is last year, which we're down almost a horse, but this does have a little bit older fuel in it.
Last year's fuel, and yeah, we didn't come off a full tune session.
Yeah.
When we retune this thing, if the air fuel line is different, we'll put the new fuel in there after we're done. But for valid testing results, we just want to make sure we test with the same fuel.
Yeah.
New pipe. Now that we've got
Exactly.
this. So regardless, we've got a nice little tiny window to work in. It's not like it's 5 horsepower different.
Exactly.
It's very consistent.
Over the life of a motor, let's say I've had this for 2 or 3 seasons and I wrote it how it was and then brought it in. Who knows how many hours I have on it? Maybe 100 hours. We never even did the piston or anything. How much would you maybe expect to see that change if it's still running?
I'm going to say you could expect to see maybe 1 to 3 horsepower.
Loss.
Yeah.
Which would almost, you could maybe notice that, but I don't know how much you would really notice it.
You wouldn't, I don't feel you'd really notice it because it goes downhill so slowly. The motor makes peak power at about 2.5 hours is where it'll make peak power.
Interesting.
I think when you brought this thing in here, it wasn't much more than that.
It had a couple rides. It probably had like 5-ish hours on it. In your estimate, at about 2.5 hours of life, that's when it's going to be as powerful as it's ever going to be. That's interesting.
Well,
I didn't know that. I mean,
we've got the same spark plug in it as when it was new. You haven't changed your valve clearances at all, so that all plays a factor. Who knows what the valve clearances are?
Exactly.
Obviously, it's starting good and idling good, so we're not going to spend the time and But for that to make that much horsepower for this amount of time in between times and different weather and humidity and everything else, that's
exactly
pretty consistent.
First impressions on fitment?
So far, so good.
The same?
Okay, that's that. That started. So far, an A+ on fitment.
A+ on fitment. That's a really good rating.
Okay, this will be baseline.
Man, that does. I think it looks nice.
So let's start it up. We'll get it to 150. When it gets to 150, I'll turn the one fan on. We'll make our passes till we see the number. And like right now, we've almost just simulated you out there riding it. We brought it in, we made the R4. Now we've cooled it down about the same amount of time. Do the R5. Should work out. It's perfect.
It sounds, I want to say, maybe a hair quieter, a little throatier, like a little deeper.
To me, the piercing is gone, but that could be for a little bit of lack of packing from the last pipe.
Yeah.
A small bit. Horsepower-wise, we're within 0.01. I wanted to make at least the same amount of runs we had with the other pipe, just so we could see.
Yeah.
And then once we got about the same amount, then I saw the drop, like a decent drop, 0.04 drop. So that's why we call it a day on that one. We're going to call this one our base pass, and then we'll overlay the two passes on top of each other.
See how the power curve changed.
We've got a little more bottom end hit out of the R5. We've got a little tiny bit less at 5,000 to 6,000, and that looks like we gained a little over rev after 9,000. And the air fuel curves look pretty close too.
Look at that.
They're not out of the ballparks.
I guess what would dictate which pipe you buy at just seeing this? I mean, because the power is still so similar.
If I had to go with, I would go with the R5 myself because you have a little more bottom end hit.
Yep.
It's a little more linear. You don't get that little hump on like the R4 right there. It smooths it out, so it's a little less of a hit, I would say. Mm-hmm. It's just, to me, that's more of a linear curve on the R5.
It is. It does actually look really good.
Not that it's going to be a night and day difference, but to me, that's a more rideable curve.
And
I like a little bit more over rev.
Exactly.
From last year to this year, even with the air fuel line being off, we were only 0.8 of a horsepower off, which is nothing. So I'm wondering what it's going to be when we're all done with this tune. If we're going to get a little more we should get a little more overrev out of it too.
Wow.
So yeah, the R5 is definitely a better pipe.
So you just got done more or less fine-tuning the air-fuel ratio on this with the new setup, and then we had the new gas in it as well.
This is the R4.
As it came in?
Yeah, R4 when it came in, and then versus the R5 tuned. And the R5 wasn't too far off on the air-fuel ratio, so it pretty much kept the same as what we saw before. So it has a little more low-end hit, it has a more linear curve up the mid-range, lost a little bit in the mid-range that I can see, but then it has more peak and over-rev. More over-rev than anything.
Yeah, it does look better overall. So the pipe makes better bottom and better top end than the R4?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I want to check is if when we came in last, it mirrored the R4 before.
Oh, wow.
And the over-rev, but that's with a fresh motor.
Yeah, that was a brand new motor pretty much.
Some hours less on the motor, so if we were to put that on before, we probably would have seen that or a little bit more. But when you look, it still has more hit off the bottom till about 3,500 RPM too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Even when from before with the tuned R4.
So the R5 picks up the throttle better than...
On the very bottom of 3,500. I'd say idle at 3,500, it's definitely better.
Yeah. The sound seems to be a bit less crazy. It's got a good thumper sound to it. That's awesome. Thank you for putting so much time in on it.
No problem.
So we're going to do baseline pulls with the R4 right now and see how it sits. So that's how she left last time compared to now.
It's pretty mirrored.
Only half a horse. And not just could be more or less kind of age the engine a little bit as far as the work that's done.
A little bit more of a bent axle on the top because they were shaking, or just the tires. I mean, the little thing could have it strapped down a little tiny bit tighter.
So that's R4 as it sits right now compared to the last time it was worked on here and built. I guess the plan would be to get the new R5 on here and see what it does with this setup. Ooh, there's a good comparison.
No, this is what I like about the new.
Oh, it is? Yeah, it is a little shorter, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
There we go.
This thing seems to fit on there a lot better than the other one did.
It seems kind of floated wherever it wants to float.
Yeah, exactly.
See, there's our over rev we gained.
With the new pipe?
Yeah, so we lost, it traded off here and there, the bottom end. A little more up to 3,000 RPM, a little less from 35 to 65, and then same for another 1,000, a little more over rev.
So blue is the new R5.
Correct.
The R4, through the whole mid-range and everything, is pulling a little more on the same tune.
Yes.
But even then, for you to just change the tune to pull another half a horse is a lot.
The tune's pretty close.
Yeah, the tune is close.
It's not out of the ballpark at all. It's a little fat, so we'll see what we can get it to when we match the lines up.
Yeah.
That'll help here in the mid-range for sure. But just putting the pipe on, yes, we lost some, but it did go fatter. We will fix it.
Well, it just shows how good that R4 pipe was on both quads. The R4 is definitely a solid performer.
Yep. R4 base run today, and then we have our tune run now.
Kind of similar to the 450. I mean, it's picking up on the low end a little better.
So yeah, a little bit more on the bottom, a little less in the mid, and a little more over rev. I mean, tiny bit less peak, but we've also been running this thing for the last 2.5 hours.
Yeah. And you put in another 80 passes fine-tuning the air-fuel ratio.
Yes.
The build quality seems to be a little higher on the 5, and they're a little quieter. So, well, this was interesting today.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting so much time in. Overall, though, I don't know, I think I'd rather have these pipes than the old ones. And that's kind of just based on sound. I like those billet muffler hangers too. I think they'll be a little better. It just, the shape of everything just seems to be good. ended up being too dark when Jay finished tuning the Raptor to grab sound clips, so I grabbed some after I got back home. These were filmed on a windy day, so I ended up setting up the camera going both directions, with and against the wind. So before we wrap up the video here, I just want to give a huge shout out to Jay at Illinois Powersports again, and David at Rossier Engineering for getting us set up with these new exhausts. I absolutely love how they look. I love how they sound. I think the fit and finish and quality is a notch above the R4. I think they're great. I was a little surprised, or at least we were a little surprised with the results on the Raptor. The anti-reversion headers are supposed to help build more torque and help with throttle modulation. So overall, I think the rideability on the Raptor is great. I mean, I did take it for the test ride to get those exhaust clips, but most owners and tuners have seen positive gains with these R5 pipes on their Raptors. So I don't know if it's because of the way my head's set up on this machine, since it's a bit overbuilt and set up for the future when we do go big bore with the Raptor, but there's a lot of variables that can contribute to why numbers are the way that they are. So I wouldn't use that as a deterrent if you're deciding between pipes. Overall, I'm still more than stoked to have these new R5s. Like I said, I think when it comes down to just fit, finish, and build quality, these are a good evolution of the R4. At the end of the day, if you're looking for the loudest pipes that Rossier offers, I would go the R4 route. They definitely bark, they sound great. But if you're looking for nice, clean performance, I definitely would lean towards the R5, and I'm really stoked to have them on the machine. So we're also going to be getting the R4 exhaust system for the 400EX, and that should be coming in soon. And Rossier will be shipping out 400EX pipes to all you 400EX owners that are waiting for your pipes. So I'm very excited to get the exhaust for that quad finally. We're also going to be going back to Jay's again, and he's going to get the thing dialed in. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see what the 400EX puts out on a stock number level. That'll be unique. I don't even know what they make stock, maybe 25 horsepower. I don't even know if they make that much. So we'll get before and afters on the 400EX, which will be super exciting. And we got a lot of fun things planned here in the coming months. Last but not least, thank you guys so much for supporting us on our website with parts and merch purchases. We're super grateful for your support, and we're super excited to add more brands to the site throughout the year. So stay tuned for that. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Ride safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.